Way 31 is celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing this year. Here in the Rocket City, we take for granted our easy access to the history and hardware that made that incredible mission possible, much of it on display at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Right now, their replica Saturn V rocket is undergoing a much-needed rehab, a challenging job made even more difficult by Alabama's uncertain weather. It's still the largest and most powerful rocket ever launched.
Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Every man who ever walked on the moon got there on top of a Saturn V. Werner von Braun and his team developed it right here at Marshall Space Flight Center. Easy to see why it holds a special place of honor now at Huntsville's U.S. Space and Rocket Center.
When you stand next to one of these, you realize how big it is, how powerful it is, and what it took to design these things.
Big rockets are really cool.
Guests young and old from all over the world come here and gaze up at the towering full-size replica, standing proudly for 20 years as a stoic symbol of what President Kennedy called the best of our energies and skills. You wouldn't notice it from the interstate where most people see it, but the years have taken a toll. The Saturn's steel riddled with rust, the paint blistering, flaking, and faded. And that just wouldn't do. Not with the 50th anniversary of the rocket's most historic mission right around the corner.
Very, very excited to have it done for the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11.
The Space and Rocket Center's Brenda Carr is in charge of restoring the Saturn V. At nearly 400 feet tall and in the middle of the most popular tourist attraction in the state, this was no weekend project.
Gee, you just don't paint a rocket every day.
They consulted with experts, the type of paint to use, it had to last, how to apply it, no spraying, only hand rolling and brushing, how to pay for it, a donation campaign complete with a catchy name, Revive the Saturn V. Work started late last year with a budget of $1.3 million and a deadline of April 1st.
It had some years on it for sure.
Travis Klosinski and his team from Industrial Coatings Group in Jemison, Alabama stepped up and up to the challenge. The tallest, most unusual job they've ever tackled.
The first day or two it was a little uneasy for me, but after a week or two it's beautiful is what it is.
PPG provided the special paint. Birmingham Steel Erectors supplied the 30-ton crane, but the work went much slower than predicted thanks to something no one could have predicted. As challenging as the sheer scale of this project was, the real problem dealing with Mother Nature. They began work here in December, just 2 weeks into what would end up being the wettest winter in Huntsville history. In fact, this week has been the most decent weather they've had to work on it.
This is the first week we've been on this job. We've actually stayed 7 days in a row, so since December.
It was either too rainy or too windy.
I mean, there's a few times I held on pretty tight. The wind would be steady, but the gust would come in. Ooh. And it would literally rip us off the rocket, and I mean, the basket would be spinning like a helicopter.
Okay. Despite the setbacks, Klosinski is confident they will meet their deadline, and this local landmark will look better than ever, ready for her close-up in July and for many years to come.
It's definitely different. I've enjoyed myself. It's been a good experience. I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah. In addition to the Saturn V itself, the Apollo Courtyard is also being restored at the Space and Rocket Center. All this in anticipation of the large number of guests who will visit the attraction this year for the Apollo 11 anniversary.